Hello, Toddbog here with Breaking the Stream, and welcome to my Let's Play of Dominions 5 Warriors of Faith. It's a new Let's Play we're doing here to sort of factor into the Let's Plays I've already accomplished with the Conquest of Elysium series. It's from the same makers. Illwinter Studios did the Dominions and Conquest of Elysium games, and they have a lot of similarities between them. They share some units. Dominions 5 is just Conquest of Elysium in a grand strategic scale with a lot more choices for armies, factions, and things like that. So, very cool. As you can see right now, you're just seeing a background here. This is one of the possible battlefields, as you can have fights underwater, and that'll be reflected. And you'll see some improvements in terms of visuals and things like that as they've incorporated some of the new tech into this game. So, really cool series, and I do plan on playing through a full game here, and then depending on where it goes, I may decide to go through more. I've already got some ideas on how to do that. So, main menu here, you've got your usual things. The one that we're going to go ahead and do now is the tools and manual. So, background on the game is called Dominions, because essentially the old gods are dead, and so there's a bunch of pretender gods that are vying for the throne, and you create one of those gods. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a pretender god here, and that pretender god is going to be a representative of us and a civilization in one of the ages here. So there are 3 ages: early, middle, and late. And if you read through, you'll be able to see what the differences are. But essentially, early has full magic and civilization at the beginning, so less tech. This will be the middle, and then this will be late, where tech is mostly there, and magic has become a waning and rare thing. So in this case, we're going to do early ages to mess with the magic. I typically, when I would play through, would be doing middle and late ages, because I like the variety of troops. But I wanted to try something a little different, and there's a concept here that I wanted to go through. So we got early ages, and voila, you can see all the kingdoms. It scrolls, but it doesn't actually, you can actually encompass them all in this one screen. But as you can see, there's quite a number of different kingdoms here, and each of the kingdoms represents a different race or subfaction of a race with different powers, different choices, and things like that. You can hover over them and get a quick summary at the bottom here. So as you can see, the Archocephali are mainly heavy infantry, chariots, and flying Icarids. They have philosophers, Oreads, forgive me if I mispronounce some of these, which are roaming mountain spirits, and mystics skilled in astral and elemental magic. And the priestesses can heal wounded soldiers. So if you click on it, you'll see the different armies that they have here. So you've got commanders, which are the ones you use on the world map, and can also provide additional powers as well. And this game has a lot of different powers, so definitely some cool things. So you can see you got your units here. So you have your basic scout. The scouts are useful, and you'll see that when we get into the game proper. And you'll see that the scout here has some interesting abilities here, but for the most part, the big thing that they have is stealthy. So being stealthy means they can go and scout enemy provinces and kind of give you an idea of what you're getting into when you get into combat. Still not 100%, because all information in terms of scouting is, mercurial, so you do not know if they're overestimating, underestimating, but you'll at least have a basic makeup, and you'll be able to learn a little bit or enough to make a decision on whether to attack. Then you have engineers. These guys do siege, so this is unique to them. They have the mason skill, which is useful for building forts and other things. They can actually upgrade to a higher level than the other races in our era. You have your skeptic, so they're a heretic, and I'll explain kind of what that's about. But they're also stealthy, and basically, what is it? They basically go out and debate, so not a combat leader by any stretch. And then you got your Icarid champion, your first of your leaders. So being Icarid, they have susceptibility to fire, all that stuff. Leadership is a skill for leaders. and there's going to be 3 different leadership skills, but the basic leadership skill means he can command up to 60 troops. Magic leadership would be the control of magic beings, so summon creatures and things like that. And then undead leadership, as should be clear, is control of undead. So these are going to be one of the bigger things that your champions will do, your leaders, because they have to control armies in order to do their work. And so you can see the Myrmidon champion doesn't have wings, but he has a higher leadership. He also has a formation fighter bonus, which is useful for certain things. Then you have your chariot commander, who's not as strong a leader as your Myrmidon, but he is mounted, so he can be useful in combat. Mystic is your first of your mages, and your mages can have any number of schools of magic. It just depends on their style. So this mage always starts with 1 level of astral mage magic, and then you get 2 random skills. And if you click on it, it'll show you the chances. 100% chance one of them will be this, and a 50% chance that it'll be one of the others as well. So definitely different paths that they can take. So when you hire a mystic, the next mystic you hire may have a different set of skills, but they're always going to have that astral magic level 1 at the core of it. And they're adept researchers, so they basically get more out of research, which you use to get new spells and stuff. But as you see, not a leader of men, so leadership 10, magic leadership at 10, so they can summon some elementals and things like that, but they're not intended to lead troops. Melissa, the Melissae, the honeybees, are Archaphelian priestesses, so they have the first of your priest levels. Your priests are the ones that can bless sacred troops, which give them access to crazy blessings and things. And as you can see, nature magic 1 and a random magic skill, which is either going to be an additional nature magic or it's going to be air magic. So, but they provide supply bonus, and they're a healer, so they can actually heal afflictions from troops. So if a troop has got an injury, like a lost eye or something like that, she could actually heal it up. Philosophers are your researchers, and improve research in lands with sloth and worsen research in lands with productivity, so kind of neat. We'll go through that too. But as you can see, just going through the different things, I'll show you the unit stats. So you've got we'll go with the basic troop, the Cardaces. So you've got your base stats here, but it's a little more complicated than in Conquest of Elysium. So your morale is 10. 10 is considered a baseline, so if you have 10 in a stat, it's considered pretty average. What you have is you have your strength, attack skill, and defense skill for your melee troops. So when your strength is added to your weapon, so if you click on this, you'll see the weapon does 3 damage, then you add your strength to it to get your total damage. So that's 13 damage total because it's 10 strength plus the 3. Your attack skill and your defense skill. So what happens is when I attack, so let's say one of these guys is fighting another one of these guys. When I attack, I'm rolling 2d6 and adding my attack skill. The defender rolls 2d6 and adds their defense skill. Whoever has the highest roll wins, and if as the attacker I win, then I get to hit them, and then we do the damage, and we see what the end result is going to be. So as you can see, the one thing they also do with this is they make it an exploding die roll. So if either die comes up as a 6, you subtract 1 from your total and roll the die again. So you can actually get really large numbers if you hit a really lucky streak and continue to roll 6s. So that means even a lowly Cardaces here could run up to the most armored of targets and possibly punch them for a few points of damage at least. So kind of neat that it has that capability. But it also means that if you're going a 10 against a 13, you have probably, sub 40% chance to actually hit your target to do any damage and stuff. And then the damage is compared to their protection. So depending on where they hit, you subtract that amount from the damage, and that's your total damage dealt. So as you can see, it gives you some ideas. Light infantry are usually from 3 to 10, while knights have a protection of 20 or more. So as a troop, they're a very basic troop. They can do formation fighting, though, which means they can fit more in a square, and you'll see what that looks like in combat as well. Fatigue and encumbrance, we'll go through that in the future, but the last thing I want to point out is their gold and resources. So better trained troops cost more gold, better equipped troops cost more resources, and then if you are well equipped and well trained, then it's going to cost a lot of both. So in this case, they're very basic, so they only need 8 resources to go through, resources being one of the incomes. And then, as you can see, leather, bronze, and shield, so nothing crazy. However, if you go to the Icarid, you can see 21 resources because they need their wings. They've got a better helmet and a shield. As you can see, their protection is definitely improved because of that. And, of course, they're flying. And right now they have worse defense but better attack. And your defense skill is modified, so you want to click on it. You'll see their weapon adds 1. So they went from 11 to 12. They lose 5 for the armor they're wearing, but their shield adds 4. So they overall lost 1 more. So that's why they're at so low, because of the wings. They lose 3 defense. It's harder to defend yourself effectively when you're trying to fly with a winged harness. So as an example. And then, of course, you can see the Wind Rider is your sacred troop, so you can bless them and get them all sorts of different bonuses. And what's really cool about this game is that the blessings are wildly varied and can be quite fun to do. But as you can see, these guys are fantastic, but they also cost 55 gold and 27 resources. They have an attack skill of 12 and a defense skill of 17, so they're going to be very hard to hit. And this is after including their modifiers to their armor and everything like that. So, and you can see mounted actually increases your defense as well. So pretty cool. So this is one of the factions you can run, and then faction starts with starts with multiple sites that allow certain things in their home territory. So the Academia gets them philosophers. This one allows engineers and produces 2 earth gems per turn, and then this one allows all these and produces their air and astral pearls. So you can see wide variety of nations, and the bottom ones here are your ocean-faring nations. So generally speaking, see, they're poor amphibians here, and they basically, so you could do relay, which is going to be a bunch of mermen, which are slaves. And then, of course, you'll eventually get like Grandmother and some other crazy spawns, mine lords and things like that. So those are pretty cool. But they start in ocean squares and generally have to build the right types of troops. Looks like their mermen are amphibians to get onto land to get more resources and things like that. So they're pretty cool. But definitely a lot of variety. We'll see what we run into in the game. What I'm going to be creating for, though, is Ermor, which is the new faith. I wanted to do a more traditional one just so that you guys can get a feel for the game based on expectations before we go to the wildly and crazy stuff here. Plus, Ermor does advance through the ages, so they're available in all 3 timelines. So if I do continue this, I may take them through the different timelines so you can see how they've changed, narratively speaking, from timeline to timeline, and how different they play and such. So Ermor is a new faith. They're centered around a great city. So think Rome. Traders and travelers from near and far come to the city. They become a power to be reckoned with, and they adopted local traditions and beliefs, posing little threat to neighbors and conquered people. But this began to change. A new god is rising. Old syncretistic faith and spirit worship were banned by the prophet and dressed in white shrouds. The remnants of his body and shrouds are buried in the holy city of the Elder Gate, where the adherents of the new faith are awaiting the arrival of the reawakened God foreseen by the prophet. All-encompassing old state cult of Numinus still survives, but the pontifice and flamen are slowly adopting new faiths. So they're human. So again, just doing something simple to keep it grounded for you guys. Military, human legionnaires, and lizard auxiliary. These guys are kind of cool. They have natural protection. They're cold-blooded, so they do worse in hot temperatures. But they do have swimming and swamp survival and poison resistance. So they have availability, all magic except blood. So primarily fire, death, and astral, which is useful. So you can see some powerful mages here. Priests are powerful and can heal afflictions. And we start with advanced forts. Or we can build advanced forts and start with a fortified city. So these will be useful, and I'll show what those mean. We can also do a scout, just like every other faction, with a stealth of 50. We also have assassins, and they're pretty cool. I'll explain more what they do and how they do it. And then your basic leadership guys. So your Centurion leadership of 80, your Legatus Legionus leadership 120. Your Acolyte is your basic priest. Augur is probably somebody I'll be building a lot of. They've got research ability, so that's my primary researcher. They have also got fortune teller, so they can prevent bad effects. Bad events, I should say. I'm not quite sure if it stacks. Probably doesn't, but at least it provides some sort of mitigation for bad things happening to you. And as you can see, they're fire mages and astral mages, so probably building a lot of these. These are the improved version of them. As you can see, level 2 fire mage and death mage, level 1 astral mage. And these spell levels can go up to level 9, I believe. So not like the Conquest of Elysium series where it was only level 3. These can go up to level 9. So you get one other, and as you can see, it can improve one of the existing ones. And there is a 10% chance that you get another level as well, apparently. So interesting. And then they have more research ability. The reason why it's going to be tough to get these guys is because there's recruitment resources. We told you about golden resources as well. But there's also a leadership point, which I don't think is reflected anywhere here, unless it's recruitment points. But basically, leaders cost recruitment points as well. So you can see the Augur. Yeah, it is reflected here. So the Augur has a recruitment point of 2. So generally speaking, you'll have 2 in your starting location. Every turn I can produce an Augur, but it would take me 2 turns to get an Elder. And we'll go into that more as we go. So Bishops of the Sacred Shroud, these are the ones that are healers. So they're not leaders, as you can see, but they're priests, so they can bless your holy troops. Same with the Archbishop, just a more powerful priest. You got a Flamen, which is from the Old Faith, but they're still counted as priests, and they've got magic and research ability. So these guys are pretty good too. And then, of course, you've got the Pontifex, again from the Old Faith. So level 2 priest, but only fire magic, and again less research, so I probably won't be building as many of these. Nice thing is, these guys are 100 gold. How much is our Augur? 65 gold. So yeah, these guys might have their uses, but I haven't figured out whether I'll use them or not. So units are pretty standard. So you've got a Census, which are your quickly levied troops, low quality. As you can see, attack skill is 9, which is below the average of 10. Defense skill is always going to be high with these guys because of their tower shields. The tower shields give us shield parry of 7, so fantastic little defensive troops. But your traditional troops are going to be your leves. These are, or leaves. I'm never sure how to pronounce that. I'll have to look that up. But they're javelin throwers, so they're cheaper to produce. Your standard line is going to be Hestatus. So the Hastati are a basic form of the Ermorian army, and so they're basically 10-15s. Really good protection and stuff, so just a solid troop overall. They also have javelins as well. So those are going to be your core. And then you've got the Lizard Auxiliary, which are pretty cool. They're better protected, so they take less damage. Not as defensive, but overall they're pretty cool troops. I think there might be issues with their morale. They're a morale 9 versus 11, though, so they're easier to break. And in this game, morale is important. So there's the Principe. Sorry. Anyways, these guys are just better versions, but they're also more expensive. They're 14 gold, 16 resources versus 11 and 14. So, and then you've got the Triarius, which are your best quality troops. However, they're also old, so they actually suffer from old age. So start of old age is 50 for these guys. They're at 55, and you see they've taken some minuses. But even with the minuses, they've got fantastic protection, better attack skill, slightly worse defense skill, and such. So you can see that they're pretty good. Again, they're expensive. So standards, and then the equites are quite good, or equite, I think is how you pronounce that. They're 10 attack, 16 defense. But the one that I'll probably be doing is the Equite, the Sacred Shroud, because they're blessed troops and they have recuperation. So if they have any wounds, they can recuperate those and not suffer lasting injuries. And because of the blessing, they'll be quite powerful. So, and then they only have one sight, but this allows them to do their Sacred Shroud people, and it produces 3 fire and astral pearls. So that being said, now we can design our god. So as you can see, there's a bunch of different forms your god can take. And depending on that, you will take that form and it will cost you a certain amount of points in the god designer. So you could be a statue of war. You could be a fountain of blood. You could be, Titan of love, the great archon. You can be any number of different things. Depending on your playstyle or what you're looking to accomplish, these can be some really cool choices here. So, in this case, depending on the empire you choose, there will be discounts to specific forms that are matches to their specific styling. So, as an example, the Titan of Love is normally 250 points, but it's only 230 because she matches this nation. I believe the other ones are... I can't remember off the top of my head now. Oh, I think it was the Statue of War is cheaper as well. And you can right-click and see what they provide as a start. Interesting enough, the Statue of War is inanimate, so they lack life force and are unexpected to, or basically aren't affected by spells that affect those. And blind with spirit sight. It doesn't say he's immobile though, so he could be a moving statue, but he's a monster summoner, so he gets actual monsters to join him as well. If you were the Fountain of Blood, let's see. Oh, okay, map move 0, that's what I'm looking for. So map move 0. So yeah, your Statue of War would stay in your home province. It wouldn't be able to move unless you were to teleport it or do other things, so it wouldn't participate in combat. So it's kind of a neat thing. But those are a bit tricky to use. So all these different forms, again, to keep things a little simpler, and because it is a match, we're going to go with Divine Emperor. So we'll do that. That gives us 335 points to go with. Divine Emperor is just a base researcher and has 1 level in Astral Magic. So he could join battles because he has map move. He's not really a fighter, but he can do some really good spell casting if we give it to him here, which we'll probably end up doing. So we've got Banishment and Smite as my custom spells. So we'll go through and we're going to give some magic. So what we want to do is we want to focus a bit on Astral and on Fire, and we'll do some Death as well. Alright, so that's where we're at, and we're already out of design points. So you'll see under Bless Effects, once it hits level 4 in any one of the magic skills, you'll actually be able to add a Bless Effect. So you click on this, and as you can see, based on the levels that you've selected, you can actually choose what happens when your troops are blessed. So, for instance, if I want my Equites of the Sacred Shroud to have a death explosion, I could do that. Oop. Well, wanted to look at it. I guess we gotta look at it. Oh, it just says it at the bottom, sorry. Blessed units will explode in huge fireballs when they die. So I could do that, and then when they're blessed, anytime an enemy kills that unit, they'll explode. Don't want to do that with this particular army, but, just one of the ideas. So you can go through and you can pick a bunch of different ones. So like Stygian Flesh here. Blessed units become resistant to non-magical damage. They get 10 invulnerability. That could be very useful depending on the armies we run into. Blessed units gain withering weapons. Anyone wounded will get decayed if they fail a magic resistance roll, and this affects all weapons except natural ranged attacks. So right now, since my only blessed troop has melee, I don't have to worry about the ranged ones. So and then of course it could also affect my leaders that are also blessed. So looking through these, the increase in attack skill is huge. So I'm going to go ahead and add that. And as you can see, some of these require different mixes. So in this case, if you have one fire and one death, you can use them both to get Wasteland Survival. So that lets them move through wasteland territories easier. Might be useful to do. Or Spirit Sight, so you'll be able to see invisible units and fight in the dark without penalties. That can be useful as well. So what I want to do, though, is I want to probably do magic weapons. That means I can hit ethereal troops without any problem. I want to do probably Stygian Flesh, and that leaves me with 2 and 1. So for 2 I can get minor fire resistance, which might not be bad. Arcane Command, or we'll go with the minor magic resistance, and then we could do, yeah, we'll do the minor fire as well. So now, white troops get blessed, they're going to have an increase in protection against fire, increased attack skill, increased magic resistance. Their weapons will be magical, and they will become resistant to non-magical damage. So right now we're almost out of points. We're at 11. Can't really do much with 11 points. So what we can do here is we can change our imprisonment. So if you choose Awake at the very beginning of the game, you'll be able to wake up right away, start the game in play, and you can actually do all your things right away. However, you can gain points if you go dormant or imprisoned. Dormant means in about a year's time you'll wake up, and then you'll be able to lead your forces. And prison means it'll take 3 years, and it can vary, give or take half a year, so it can be longer or shorter. Same with this one, by a few months. So you can get more points by coming into the map a little later. So still useful, and I think that's what we'll do. We'll go with Dormant. And what that does is now we don't start in the game, but we will come into the game within a year's time, roughly. So, which means that nothing happens with these blessing effects except for this one, Stygian Flesh, which only happens when we come into the world. So Incarnate only means that we have to be present in the world in order for that to happen. But with those extra points, we can now mess with our dominions, which allow us to modify our world a little bit. So we can make our land more orderly, or create more turmoil, more productivity, which we'll just click it, gives you more income and resources. We could do more growth, which gives you more income and resources, things like that. So looking at these, this is your Dominion as well. Dominion's important. Represents the strength of your divine power, and basically it spreads your influence across the map. And as you spread your influence, good things happen. So we'll leave it at that for now. So we're going to upgrade this, though, a bit. We'll do that. We want to do more productivity, because resources will be a thing. More growth, because we need people. And then I think we'll just go ahead and improve this one more. So heat, cold. So right now my people are good at a scale of 0. The scales can modify based on the weather in the land, or of course the aura of the gods. If I go away from this, I actually gain points. But as you can see, it's going to have an effect on some of my growth effects and everything like that. So, so not worth it. We'll eliminate these so you can see. So as you see, income goes down and supplies go down as you get away from your ideal temperature. So I think we're good there. We could do one new path. So what would I do? We'll do 1 point in construction. Okay. So we got that. Go ahead and name ourselves. All praise Toddbog. All right. There we go. So we've created our pretender god. Now we'll create our world. And as you can see, they've got ones. I've downloaded a few ones that are in the workshop as well. So someone created a Westeros one, so that's kind of cool. But we'll go ahead and do a random map. We'll go ahead and do medium. Everything's going to be at default, normal amount of water, rivers, caves, and east-west wraparound. You can also create north-south wraparound, which is cool, which you don't see in a lot of games. And then we got to create a game name, so I'll call it Break Stream. And we'll go ahead and delete the test game I did. We said early ages, and we're going to add. We're going to add 3 AIs. We'll keep them at their standard. We are going to be Ermor. They're going to be random. This gives us a little breakdown, and then we can actually select or load. As you can see, I created another version of me, but did that for some learning, so I'll probably have to make sure I go and delete that. But everything else here remains the same, and so starting provinces, as you can see, you can modify a lot of things to get started. We're not going to worry about changing any of that. Alright, and it takes a little while to create the random map. So yeah, this first video is going to be just all about training, introducing you to the game and, you know, the control mechanisms and stuff. And then what I'll do is I'll put the gameplay in the second video, and I'll make sure that the introduction, or that the description will denote that, so that people know that this is going to be a sort of welcome to the game kind of interface for this first video. As you can see, there's a lot going on in it, but once you get into the system and start playing it, it starts to really all draw together. It's got a nice manual as well that really breaks it down and shows you every detail that you need to know, including like the percentages on rolls and stuff. So they've got a nice little table in there. So I definitely recommend checking out the manual if you're thinking about jumping into the game, because it can give you a really good introduction to the series and everything. So. Alright, so in the beginning there was chaos. Out of chaos rose worlds populated with multitudes of beings. Wars were fought, kings and emperors rose and fell, and the civilization were built and crumbled as millennia passed. Gods, dark and strange, were worshipped in the pagan temples. Still there was chaos. The gods fought amongst themselves, bringing even greater ruin to those who would serve them. At last there was one, a being of great power and enlightenment, who rose above his immortal peers and cast them out of the heavens into oblivion. From chaos came order, and with order came peace, and the creatures of the world flourished. The age of chaos is ended. Now the wheel turns once again. The supreme god has disappeared. Prayers are left unanswered, and smokes of offering rise in vain to the heavens. No one knows why he disappeared, but it is certain that the people of the world are once again left without direction, without guiding principle, without order. Now is the time for beings of great power and ambition to try their strength. The throne of the heavens stands empty, and only the strongest can rise to supremacy over all. Only the most powerful can ascend to take the place of he who came before. This is the time of great strife and suffering. This is the time of magic unequaled. This is the Ascension Wars. Cool. So that's the same story you get every time. So this is our world map. As you can see, it's basically drawn up with a certain aesthetic, as you can see. Ooh, what are these? So these are cool. These are caves. That's what those represent. So basically, it's drawn up as provinces and such. It's got the east-west wraparound, so if you go long enough, you'll find yourself again. So there's not like a clear delineation where the breakdown is. You just have to remember through landmarks, things like that. But as you can see, we've got provinces near us. If you right-click, I've turned on the ability to see what provinces are connected to which, because sometimes it's not so clear. Like, for instance, let's see. Generally, it'll be like this one, I'll say, as an example. As you can see, there's just a tiny bit of connection there. So that may or may not connect, so this is the best way to find out. This one has a mountain pass. That's what these red dots represent. So long as it's not snowing on either side, the mountain pass will be clear and you can travel through it. Generally, though, mountains... mountains will block, so even though these look like they're touching, they won't be there. So if you're in doubt, always use this method. I just keep it on by default, so I know exactly what connects to what. So you can see this is my starting area connected to 3 provinces. Not the best start. I don't like starting at the edge of the map if possible, only because of a few things, but I'll explain that as we go. But in my starting land, we have ourselves a fortification, which is a fortified city. Administration, all that. So you can see it has a fort commander, slingers, defense, all that. We also have our laboratory, which lets us research, our temple, which allows us to spread our dominion. So we'll be able to influence the outer lands here. Let's make sure Dominion Candles, we'll turn that on. So Dominion Candles, if you zoom in, you can see it behind this little icon there, but you can also see we have it here. That just means that it's become under our control, religiously speaking. So we'll get access to certain benefits and things like that there. And then finally we have that Temple of the Shroud, which we mentioned, which gives us access to building specific units. So we've got 2 leaders here. We've got ourselves a scout, and then we've got ourselves a centurion. So the centurion's got 80 leadership. The scout is obviously for scouting purposes, and we've got 3 territories near us. So looking at the territories, as you can see, we've got no information for 2 of the territories. And then for the 3rd, since we have our dominion there, we get access to the basic information. So we can see the population, income, and resources that exist in this land here. So so overall, looks like we've got some interesting lands for sure. So we're going to send our scout over here. It's going to be the plan. And we're just setting this up. We won't hit end turn. This video will end before then. And then we'll get into the game proper on the next round. You can see my army setup. So you can see that we have some basic troops. We have leaves or leves here in a stack. And then we have our Hestatus from Ermor. And you can see our leader here. And so he's leading 25 total troops here. So 10 and 15 respectively. Now the cool thing about this versus the Conquest of Elysium series is that you can actually change your formation. So in this case, we'll go ahead and move both groups up. And what we'll do is we'll actually change their formation to a double line. And we'll just go to a single line. That'll spread them out. And what that'll do is it'll change how they perform based on the combat and everything. And we've got to change Lamius, so we're going to move him up here so he stays with his troops. But yeah, so you have the ability to do that, and once you get more units and more variety of units, you can definitely set up some more advanced formations with ideas, with battle orders, things like that. So very cool idea, but we got our basic troops set up. So the only thing really to do on your first turn is you want to set up your research. So right now they put points into construction. But right now, since I've got the magic I've got, we're probably going to go with... where is it? Conjuration. And you can right click and see all the different spells. So this represents how many spell point or levels you need. So level 2 Death Mage would be able to cast Black Servant, so on and so forth. And you can see there's multiple levels of research. However, what I want to show you as well is that even at the higher levels, you may not need advanced magic. Like this only leaves a level 3 mage, but it's a level 7 spell. So it's definitely more advanced, but doesn't require an advanced mage to cast it. You can summon ghosts at the level 6 with only 2 death, things like that. So even though we're going up, it's not like we're going to reach higher and higher levels needed, except for the final levels. Once you get level 9, that's when you see some truly powerful spells and everything like that. So we'll go ahead and set that as our first one. And I'll kind of walk through the schools later. And then finally, we're going to set up our recruitment of units. So as you can see, we've got gold, commander points, holy points, resources, and recruitment points. So based on this, we have to spend our resources effectively in order to expand our army. So as I mentioned, I want to get augurs because they do my research. And you can click repeat, so that'll constantly use up these resources every turn until we don't need to. And then I kind of want to build up Hestatus when possible. Let's see, we'll do that many, and we should be able to do 3 slingers. So that uses up all our resources, and then I can hit repeat recruitment. So our Hestatus will get 6 Hestatus and 3 slingers every round until we start getting more resources going. So that'll set that up. And then you can obviously modify it as you need to and build what you need and everything like that. So So the last thing I'm going to show you is mercenaries. So we've got Mercolica's green min. 150 gold will get you 25 min right away that you can use for whatever purpose, but I don't think you have a way to look at the min, unfortunately. So, and then we'll show you the screen up here as you see population, income, supplies, resources. So you'll need supplies for your troops. So that'll be a planned thing you have to do. Your treasury shows you what you have and what you're getting in income. The negative 23 here represents our current upkeep. So right now we're making a pretty good amount of gold income. And then you see we're getting 3 fire gems and 3 astral pearls each month. So we can utilize those if we need to. The last thing I want to show off is defense. So defense is passive defense in a province. So instead of having to have armies in every province and having to move them around and keeping yourself defended, you can just buy defense. And every point of defense costs whatever that new defense point would cost. So if I wanted to go from this 25 level to 26, it cost me 26 gold. And as you do that, the troops that you get down here grow. So right now we have 25 defense, which is generally where I like to be for standard provinces. You get a Pontifex, a Centurion, you get 6 Estatus, Leaves, a Census, and Rorars. So you get a lot of troops, smaller troops. If you go up a level, you see it goes a little stronger. And then as you go up to higher levels, you can see it goes a bit stronger even then. But we can't go much further than that right now. But once you get to certain thresholds, you start unlocking different troop types. So you might see different ones. And it's different depending on what region you're at. So definitely a useful way to keep your provinces from being raided by small armies. So the enemy will have to be more dedicated if they're going to attack you. And if you're strategic about it, you save yourself some gold. You can protect provinces and keep a line of defenses that are passive that you don't have to worry about. So, all right. With that, I'm going to leave it here. This will be the introduction, and then we'll go ahead and go into the game proper. We'll still have more explanations as we go throughout, but it'll be a little more organic, less lectury, and more as we come across new systems. We'll explain it. So I do hope you join me for this journey. I'm looking forward to pushing this series through, as it's a game series I've been playing since Dominions 2. Back then, their copyright protection was very simplistic. It came with a massive manual that was spiral bound, and you only got the manual if you bought the game through them. Back in the day when you didn't have PDF scans of everything, that was an effective form of copyright protection, because only through severe dedication would you be able to unlock all the systems without that manual, or without videos like this nowadays and such. So obviously a bit different. They're now providing the manual on their website for since Dominions 4, I think. For sure, and so you can now read those digitally, but it was definitely a really cool game. I got it in the mail. It was a massive book. It had a lot of great ideas, and the 5th iteration of this is quite good. So I do hope you guys enjoy it as well. And as always, if you have any comments, please feel free to put them in the video. I'm always looking at them, and that will help me guide you and provide answers to any questions you might have. So yep, like, comment, subscribe, and I will bid you guys adieu.